Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Make We Talk. Wherever you're watching and listening from around the world in the Eastern Caribbean, I am being told that we're on Jam Talk Vibes Radio. Good evening to all our listeners on Jam Talk Vibes Radio. We are going to discuss this evening who ordered the killing of well-known businessman in 2010, Keith Clark. They said that he's a so-called accountant for Christopher Dudus Coke. I'm going to read something here that was given to me. Keith Clark did not. It was a matter of fact. It was in the Jamaica Gleaner, and it was dated the 23rd of May 2021. Keith Clark did not have a financial relationship with the drugs lord Christopher Dudus Coke, nor did he know him. The widow of the late businessman has released Dr. Claudia Clark and her teenage daughter watch in horror as they assassinated the 63-year-old businessman Keith Clark in his home in Kirkland Heights, St. Andrew on May 11, 2010. Who sent the JDF up there? It went on to say, as she watched in horror, during a midnight-led raid by the Jamaican military at their home in Kirkland Heights. So the question must be asked this evening. Who sent members of the Jamaica Defense Force to Kirkland Heights, the home of the late Keith Clark? That is what we're asking this evening. And this evening, I have with me my two good friends, Herbert Nelson Jr., chairman of the Crime Security Committee Group of Institute of Caribbean Studies in Washington, D.C. Dr. Rupert Francis, head of the Jamaican Diaspora Crime Prevention Task Force. Gentlemen, welcome to Make We Talk.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey, and greetings to your listeners as well.
Absolutely. Greetings.
So Nelson, I will start off with you. Tell the Jamaican people what you gathered so far pertaining to the late Keith Clark.
Well, the late Keith Clark, unfortunately, name has been linked by the authorities. Now you have to look at the big picture. The big picture was you had an incursion occurring down in Tivoli Gardens. You had the MIU and the police sounding telephones, track and tracing Dudus, trying to locate him and his network. You also had aerial surveillance coverage by helicopter as well as by a US P-3 Orion aircraft that could listen in to any phone calls and target the connections that Dudus may have had on the ground. They were very efficient when they started the incursion. And I said they were very efficient because according to what Mr. Siaga was saying, there were dead bodies showing up in Maypen before the military or the police had even moved in. You have 3 U.S. Navy warships at different ports. I believe St. Mary, Kingston, and probably St. Catherine that were in the vicinity. And you had the P-3 Orion aircraft, which suggests that you may have had U.S. forces not just flying around and in those naval vessels, but underground. Now, which U.S. forces would be on the ground normally in a situation like this? You have forces referred to as JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command, and
That,
it's
that, that, that,
possible
that is a
that,
U.S. That is a U.S. military international force.
and they strike anywhere in the world that you want them to strike.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have young men standing posts to defend Dudus, and they present a threat to the forces, you, an effective means of taking them out is using special operators. And you drop special operators in, you do it in the dead of night. They have night vision equipment. They can see all these gunmen long before the gunmen can see them. And they can effectively take him and take them down. I don't know of anybody in the JDF that had that training, or a special operations group that had that training in the JDF. I know they've been trained by special forces, and I know that the police had a Delta unit, which mimicked the name of a U.S. Army Delta Force, First Special Forces.
Yes.
So just keep in mind that the incursion started professionally. A lot of people died before the military actually got orders to move in. And then once the military moved in and they took control because there were no longer threats from snipers, then you had the police to come in behind them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the wanton killings of civilians began when the police got there. Not to say that the military do their own share, but the police did the majority of the senseless violence against you. Now, I can understand how they felt because for years nobody could touch Tivoli. Mr. Siaga, then Mr. Golden had protected Tivoli, and the CMU, led by that senior cop, tried to enter Tivoli on several occasions.
You mean Renita Adams?
Renito Adams, and he got deflected. You know, everybody had an axe to grind against the people of Tivoli Gardens, but it wasn't the people of Tivoli Gardens that had angered the population. It was Dudus and the well-armed people that he controlled. Now, the information that we had gotten was that Dudus was living in Kirkland Heights.
Oh,
And Kirkland Heights, of course, is an upscale area.
right.
And I want to blend two things together for you. To purchase a home in Kirkland Heights, when you have no visible income stream, I say no visible legal income stream,
Yes.
right? Where you're known to be involved with drug trafficking. And as a matter of fact, the money, the $50,000 that was supposed to be paid to Manat to influence the U.S. government.
In other words, hold on for me, Mr. Nelson. In other words, the $50,000 that the jail piece supposed to pay to Manat Felton Phillips.
Right.
Okay.
That,
For the extradition thing of Dudus.
that came from Dudus.
Okay.
They declared that. Mr. Varza declared that. But the U.S. Department of Justice regarded that as ill-gotten gain.
Oh.
And that you can't use laundered money in a legal transaction, which is what got Mr. Vaz in trouble with the DOJ.
Okay.
All right. So you've got a situation where Dudus had thousands of people around him to defend him. But once they were hit initially, let's say once the incursion began, they started scattering because they even got a diary of a young man who wrote as to how terrible it was. Bullets were flying all around him. He got scared and he got out from the Tivoli area.
Mm-hmm.
You also had a situation where it's felt that people on the ground, security officers, may have assisted Dudus in leaving the area, and that he left his men there to fight on his behalf without them realizing that he was gone,
Oh.
right? So, in track and tracing him, the anger from a soldier dying, the police dying, the police stations being burned, I believe, for them, all that anger, and you track and tracing, you're looking at the people who are most involved with him. And this is how they traced it to Kirklandites and to Mr. Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Now, naturally, the stakeout for the military would be conducted by the MIU, Military Intelligence Unit. And I was
Yes.
assured by police personnel that MIU had the home under surveillance, electronic surveillance.
In
Is
other words,
that fact?
in other words, they have Mr. Keith Clark home under surveillance.
Right? Because of course that means that track the signals from Dudus's phones to that house before, so they knew that he had some accommodation with Mr. Clark. Strangely enough, what was told to me that for Dudus to purchase that home up there in Kirkland Heights, that a prominent minister of government was his attorney in the transaction,
Who is no, who is now still a minister?
who is now still a minister. I won't call any names,
Yes.
but that minister completed that transaction so he could purchase that house. So
Oh.
here, if Mr. Vaz was fingered for using ill-gotten gain or laundered funds to approach Manat on Dudus's behalf, then certainly whoever closed the deal, and you needed a lawyer, I guess, to close that deal and that house, expensive home in Kirkland Heights, then that lawyer must also have used ill-gotten gain to help Dudus close the deal on that house. So it's very simple and very easy to see that somebody had to make a decision at the political end to tie up all the loose ends. Right? Now, there's another part of this. The wharf. Dudus had two senior superintendents of police down on the wharf that did the
Which one of the wharf you talk? You mean the wharf?
Kingston Wharf. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. The whole Newport,
West.
the whole area
Yes.
was run by two senior superintendents. And we were getting word, we in the US were getting word that tractor trailers were being driven off the wharf without being checked.
Mm.
And that there's possible weapons on board those tractor trailers. So you have to look at it in this way. The incursion may very well have been to recover the weapons that those officers that are allowed to leave the wharf and go into West Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So those are the areas I can speak to, because the rest of this has to do with the military. The military has a stakeout. That means there were orders to individuals to stake the place out. Surveillance. Somebody had to issue orders for that. The field commander during this period
Yes.
was then Colonel Rocky Mead. The superior to Rocky Mead was a Brigadier Anthony Anderson,
Who is now the Commissioner of Police?
who is now the Commissioner of Police. And then you had a Major General. What's that Major General, Doc? I'm trying to remember his name.
Stuart Saunders.
Stuart Saunders. That was over everyone. So for an order to come in to have surveillance and to send a team in to take out Dudus, all these military orders have to be verbal, and they go from being verbal to being confirmed on paper or whatever other means they had going.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let me deal with this dog.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead, sir. Sir, Dr. Francis. Based on what Mr. Herbert Nelson just said a while ago, would you say there is a cover up towards the Keith Clarke killing?
I find it. I wouldn't say cover up unless there's obviously a cover up. There's obviously something strange going on, because if the wife says that he had no dealings with Dudus, and yet I have to take that with the water. In other words, I don't know if that's possible, because knowing his connection. So let's deal with that he had connection, but there was no apparently direct contact. But the fact that the incursion took place, and the fact that most of the players that were in the incursion are still around, they are still in the JDF, and the trial has not really. The men have to be tried. They tried to take them, give them who killed the man. The question is, if you're going in with so much intelligence, you should know what Mr. Clarke looks like. You should know what he's capable of doing, and you should have. And as you said, he had surveillance. So, what's the big deal? You really should have all the information. That you require to know who is where and what, because there's a well-planned operation. It's not a fly-by-night thing. You had MIU involved. You had people. You had surveillance both on the ground, in everywhere. You had the information. You had the information from government. You had the information from the member of parliament. You had the go of the government. So in order to get all of that done, everybody had to know what was going on. Okay, and as regards the killing of people and from the Maypen and so on, you don't know who else was there on the ground. You don't know if people came from the skies. You don't really know that either, because I know that 81mm mortars were fired. And in order to give that, you have to get a very high up command, like a colonel or whatever, to fire the 81mm, because that's only fired in war. And I will tell you, I'm the only certified officer for the 81mm mortar ever in the history of the Jamaica Defense Force. Okay? I went to Warminster for that. So, I mean, and I just don't know. So you had me in the staff sergeants and what have you. But if you really want to dig into the story, which I don't think you'll ever be able to get the true story. There's a lot of messy stuff that happened down in Tivoli. Because Tivoli, I think, was a big scapegoat. And surprisingly, the Prime Minister retired after Tivoli or resigned and gave it to the current Prime Minister. And the very same people
Dr. Francis. I think we have lost Dr. Francis. Sir Nelson.
Yeah, I guess his sound went and then his video
That
went.
Yes.
He's going to have to log back in. But look,
I got log back in.
yeah. Oh,
Oh,
there he is.
go
There
ahead.
he is.
Yes.
You're good.
Yeah,
You're good, Doc.
yes. So I'm just saying to you that the very same people, it's really a coincidence that the very same people, all the people that were involved in the affair, is still around, still serving in some capacity, and still serving the same government. And that to me is really very suspicious. Um, I don't know the full details, but as an observer and as a person who has had some military experience, I think that we in the military should stay out of the body politic. We've been able to successfully do that for years. And I think that Jamaica has been known as one of the safest and the most, what should I say, democratic governments in the West, bar none, including the America.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just saying to you that anybody who convinced these people to do what they did can have no good intention for Jamaica on a whole. And I will not be, yes, go ahead.
No, finish your point. I'm gonna ask Mr. Nelson this. Finish your point.
And I will not be surprised. I will not be surprised if they have other intentions for Jamaica, which is not necessarily holy. Let's put it that way. I want to refer to Herb's overview and everything that he has said. If you are really listening to it, anybody's listening in, they can say for themselves, okay, why is this important? Well, it's important because we know that it is true that Tivoli had a reputation. A reputation, yes. But nobody deserves to be killed in that fashion. And when you have an entire army surrounding, how can civilians fight a well-organized army? I think that that's a scapegoat, right? As you say, 81 millimeter mortar, my friend, if it falls in the middle of you, within 30 to 50 feet, everything, or maybe 100 feet, it's blown out. And there are more than one shell fired there, maybe, in the area. So, and remember that Dudus may have been long gone. And 73 people, from my memory serves me correctly, lost their lives. And I think it was stupid. And Mr. Clark, I don't know what role he played in
Well,
his connections. So
well.
that's it.
Based on something I was told today
Yeah.
by somebody that Sir Herbert Nelson, myself, and I think you, Dr. Francis, may know. I won't call any name.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a possibility that Dudus maybe was involved with the late Keith Clark daughter.
Oh.
Based on that's what I'm hearing. I don't know if it's true. But the
Mm.
question I want to ask Mr. Nelson is this. How did the Jamaica Defense Force made such an error, because I have to call it an error, to go into a person's home and pump 21 bullets and don't know who the person is? Isn't that an assassination, Mr. Nelson, of a Jamaican citizen on Jamaican soil by the
No,
military of Jamaica?
that's precisely what it is, Jeffrey. I mean, Rocky Mead is Lieutenant General, retired now. But before he takes up his next position,
As ambassador for whatever.
yes, he should be made to answer the question, who gave that order? See, usually with the US, when we're going in, we have a kill or capture order that is given, right? And believe me, when you had those deck of cards and those folks on that deck of cards, when JSOC went in, it was kill or capture.
Yes.
If they surrendered peacefully, fine. If they didn't, they were dead. Right? I'm sure with all the training that the U.S. Special Operations guys gave to our local people, they knew exactly what kill or capture meant. So when you get instructions from somebody in the body politic that this man has to go, no corporal or private can make that decision on their own. Somebody made that decision and somebody gave an operational order to move in. They did it under the guise that when you come at midnight and you knock in somebody's door down and they fire a shot out there, who are they going to hit? Right? Did you identify yourself? You didn't make it very plain why you were there. If you're a threat to the man and his family, he has a right at self-defense. But you had superior weapons, superior firepower. And you had the order to go in and take this man out. And 21 bullets is more than an assassination.
And you know, when you sit back and you listen, because in 2010, when you hear the bullets fired in Tivoli Garden, and to mention that they go up to Kirkland Heights, where the late Keith Clarke was, the question must be asked, was Keith Clarke a member of any gang? Was Keith Clarke a member of the Shower Posse gang? Why is it that whosoever sent the Jamaica Defense Force up there pumped 21 bullets into a Jamaican citizen home? The Jamaica Defense Force was ordered to do that. And we sit down in this country and gonna allow Rocky Mead to become ambassador for where? Huh? And no question is being asked of Rocky Mead. What happened in 2010? Who ordered the military to go up to Keith Clarke home? It could be me or you or anybody else.
Listen, I don't know. As I said before, I just don't understand why you're surprised as to what is going on, because the evidence is clear. The evidence is clear. You know, they used to say, tricks in trade, matches box in business. The fact of the matter is, my friend, there is a conspiracy going on in the country against the very people of the country by the people who they elected to run the country, as far as I'm concerned. Unless they can put forward and answer these questions. You know, I don't know the connection with Keith Clarke, and it is possible if he was an accountant of sorts with the GLP or whatever, that he would have had some dealing with, and they have a reason why though. They have a reason why he had to be silenced. The same type of reason that is the guy, the architect for Boltus, has been silenced too in my opinion. Somebody hit him. Okay, so I do not know why we sit down there and we, like we're in consternation. No, we are not in consternation. We have when you ask, you should have to say to the people of Jamaica, are you going to sit down and allow your freedoms, your wherewithal to be trampled upon like this? And yes, we know that. What's his name from Tivoli was not necessarily a good person. I mean, like in the word of good, like a good citizen, so to speak. But is that the way we do business? Right? I mean, and if that is the case now, why is it that with all the killings and all the things that are happening in Jamaica, why is it that they can't do the same to the people who are doing all the killings and what have and the mayhem in Jamaica? That's the question I would like to ask.
Mr. Nelson?
Now, you've got a situation where some of the reporting that I've had was that Mr. Clark was privy to construction contracts that Dudus ran security on sites and possibly labor hire, because everything we saw of Dudus was that he was a prime benefactor, not benefactor, but the supporter of the JLP,
Yes.
while two other individuals who were prominent in the news as well were the supporters of the PNP. The things that they had in common was the fact that they shared the construction contracting, whether it was PNP or JLP. And I know Dudus had diversified to become Don of all Dons over all the PNP areas as well, right?
Yes.
And that in doing so, the wealth that these fellows gained from the construction business was enormous. But there was a lot of kickback to politicians and other people in society who backed either party.
Mm-hmm.
So if they went in and took him out, the question then is, what documents were collected at the scene? Because naturally MIU would have to go in and collect all the documents at the scene. And who were those documents passed to? Very simple.
Very good question.
And his wife might possibly be able to help in identifying document collection and who did it. And if she was listening, might have overheard. She might have been distraught at the time.
Yes.
Could have overheard what they were talking about, or what were the ranks of the people who came in and did the document collection.
But
Because they expose themselves that way. It's not just who did the killing. When those three people took him out and secured the house, then the others moved in. Who came in? Who cleared it? Who was on the scene? What were the ranks of those people? Can you remember anything of those people? Because naturally, the lower ranks would say major this or captain this or lieutenant whatever.
yes.
But this is how you retrace those steps. The chain of command had to be there. It's a lorry load of people, I understand, that went up there. At least a partial platoon of soldiers. So there was overwhelming numbers and there was overwhelming firepower. And if Colonel Rocky Meade was the field commander, then you have to trace the chain of command to see who else is in that chain of command. Those are the people who should have been charged for murder, not these three young men.
In other words, you're saying that Rocky Meade, who is now going to become ambassador appointed by the Prime Minister, should be charged for Keith Clark killing.
He should be charged. Look, in the military, you're responsible for whatever happens or fails to happen in an operation. And if it were properly investigated, then Colonel Meade would have had an opportunity to say who gave what order or who under whose portfolio were these young men operating. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no with the military. There's no dark area or any blurred lines. The chain of command has responsibility for these young men.
Yes.
Who is the chain of command? Who gave the order? These guys didn't just get up and say, you know what, I'm going to go in there and blast this man and take him out. No, they didn't do that. There's discipline. It's a disciplined team that went up there and they had instructions. What were those instructions?
And who gave those instructions?
Yes, who gave the instructions?
There's a video I want you and Dr. Rupert Francis to watch. That somebody brought it to my attention, said, Jeffrey, go and research this. And I did so. So I'm going to let you all watch this video here. That was sent to me.
This will be a revisit of the strange series surrounding the death of Chartered Accountant Keith Clarke in 2010.
Teach them! Always make sure the message will reach them!
The days were steaming hot and the nights were endlessly long as the social and the political tension
you can hear
built
it?
in May of 2010. There were whispers that the man who was at the center of the national crisis, the infamous Dudus, had issued threats to 2 cabinet members and the female spouse of another. Dudus expected the political hierarchy of the Jamaica Labour Party to protect him from extradition, as he and those street elements in Western Kingston had protected the vote for the JLP over many years. As Dudus cowered in the days leading up to the security forces breaking into Tivoli Gardens with deadly effect, many inside the shuttered community actually believed it would not happen. And a few days later, on the 27th of May, it reached Uptown. During the ongoing search for Dudus, Chartered Accountant Keith Clarke was killed at his Kirkland Close home in Red Hills, St. Andrew, when 100 soldiers and a handful of police personnel raided his residence. The shooting and explosions lasted for about an hour, according to neighbors. Reports at the time said that the Jamaica Defense Force personnel, acting on intelligence, went there in search of coke. When the shooting ended, the accountant was shot 21 times, mostly to the back. He died inside the home he shared with his wife and a daughter. 3 Jamaica Defense Force soldiers were charged with his murder 2 years later, on the 30th of July 2012. The soldiers were indicted by Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn. The murder trial of the 3 soldiers was postponed on the 13th of October 2013 until the 9th of March 2015 due to the chikungunya illness on the part of one of the defense lawyers. On the 9th of March 2015, the trial was rescheduled for October 12 that year, after the Director of Public Prosecutions acceded to request from attorneys for the soldiers that the trial be delayed pending the completion of the West Kingston Commission of Inquiry. On the 12th of October 2015, the trial was again rescheduled, this time to February 8 of 2016. Pending the completion of the West Kingston Commission of Inquiry. On the 19th of September 2016, the trial was again pushed back to February 6, 2017, this for undisclosed reasons. In September of 2017, the trial was again delayed, this time because of the unavailability of Dr. Dinesh Rayo, the former consultant pathologist to the Ministry of National Security. At the time the trial was set to get underway in April of 2018, the attorney representing the soldiers presented immunity certificates and argued that his clients could not be tried. The lawyer dropped a bombshell when he revealed in court that the soldiers were granted immunity from prosecution by former Security Minister Peter Bunting on the 22nd of February 2016, almost 6 years after the incident. The certificates were granted to Corporal Odell Buckley, Lance Corporal Greg Tingling, and Private Arnold Henry, some 4 years after they were charged with Clarke's murder. In halting the trial, after Clarke's widow Claudette challenged the immunity granted to the soldiers, Justice Brown told the court at the time that it was not for him to determine the legality of the actions of then Minister of National Security Peter Bunting. Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn had argued that Bunting had overreached and interfered in the matter when he sanctioned the immunity certificates. Llewellyn had also described the decision by Bunting as a most unusual exercise of authority. The matter was sent to the Constitutional Court, which in November of 2019 heard arguments in the challenge to the legality of the certificates of immunity brought by widow Claudette Clarke. The court then handed down its ruling on the 18th of February, nearly 2 years after the trial was halted in April of 2018. The ruling said that the 3 Jamaica Defence Force soldiers will have to stand trial. The court ruled that immunity certificates granted to the trio in 2016 by Bunting were invalid, null, and void. In announcing the court's decision, Justice Leighton Pusey, who was part of a 3-judge panel that heard the challenge, said the granting of immunity was manifestly unfair and unreasonable, and as such the soldiers must stand trial for Clarke's murder. The certificates were issued by Bunting under the Emergency Powers Act, under which several states of emergency are now in force. Since the ruling was handed down, Bunting has stated that he received legal advice before he issued the good faith certificates in 2016. Bunting, in a statement to the media, said that having acted on the advice he received, he could not have responsibly taken an administrative decision to deny the soldiers access to the certificates of good faith. Now, interesting days ahead, as I look forward to see how this trial unfolds.
Now, tell me something. You went to somebody's house. You look at it, based on how you see this video, you look at it, they're not even knock or anything. You just start fire. You, Mr. Nelson?
Yeah, well, the excuse that they were making is that shots came out from the weapon that Mr. Clarke had in his house. That shots came out at them. My question is, what investigation was conducted and what did the forensic show? Are there bullet holes in any JDF vehicle? Can they match up Mr. Clarke's weapon to those bullets? I said 6, maybe over 16. It's 100. It's a company-size element that moved in. And when you have a company-size element firing at your house, you see the result. All those bullet holes in the roof, as well as the mortar around the house. So they were putting the fear of God in him, and he had to duck and cover. He had no way he was returning any fire. So they're going to have to come with a better excuse. Who was in charge of that detachment? That's the person who should be on trial, mainly. Because that's the person that sent them 3 soldiers in there to kill the accountant. And they knew the accountant held certain information against ministers of government. Now, for Mr. Bunting to issue the good faith certificates, this is good old boy stuff that we're talking about. You playing with the opposition to cover somebody's backside. So the question arises, how many people needed coverage? How many people needed for this man to die to cover the backsides? And you're tempted to cover for the soldiers. That means you are writing off the killing as a righteous kill.
The assassination of a Jamaican citizen.
Yes. You assassinate a Jamaican citizen and it means nothing. And Jamaicans are asleep because they should have been raising hell over this. You saw the same thing when they set up a cleric, a Muslim cleric, with this New York thing. Why? Because the U.S. felt that Britain released the cleric from jail too soon. So you had to get him back into jail. They're afraid of what he had to say. The power of his speech was like the old Malcolm X of old. So you had to do something. So you set up your own people. Same players are involved. Same players were involved back then, and same players were involved with the Muslim cleric. So you have to look at it that these people believe that their class in society is above others, and that they can kill, they can suppress, they can do whatever they want to the lower classes in society at will. And nothing is going to come of it, because whether you're PNP or JLP, you're closing ranks. And the DPP obviously does not understand military structure, command and control, because her office should have investigated the command and control aspect and should have then laid the charges at the feet of those in control. I might have said Meade earlier, but these people are way below Meade. The question is, did Meade accede to somebody's desires to have him killed? Did he pass the order down? Did Anthony Anderson have a hand in it as Meade's supervisor? Or did Major General Saunders have a hand in it? Normally, your intel and your operations are who determine the order of battle. And in this order of battle, where you go in and kill this man, it came out of left field. Somebody away from, and that could have been track and trace easily. Because everybody should give up their phones, and then you could track and trace all the phone calls, who called when, who gave the final order to move in and kill him.
So that means they are giving Rocky Meade now. Jeffrey, shut him out. Dr. Francis, your views on the video?
I've seen the video before, and it speaks volumes. I see a lot of ammunition being pumped into the house. The wife was still there, the child was still there, and and it was at the top of the house. So I think they knew what they were doing. If you look where the bullets are,
yes.
And but then I think he was killed in the living room. I think. Because he must have told them to hide in the bathroom or something. But I tell you, it was luck why they were not killed with all those firings in there, and the house was obviously well built. So the aim was to take that man out for whatever reason, and we have to get to. But the problem we have, Jeffrey, and is that the average Jamaican person doesn't really want to know. If they understood what was at stake. Right? Because there's a lot at stake right now. There's a lot of stake. There's a lot being swept under the carpet with all these things. You can put them together. Even if you're not a good domino player, you won't call this game. Only if you want to. But I'm just saying to you, think about it. Think about how strategic these things have been. Think about the things that have been happening. There's a correlation, right? So people have to understand that people like us who talk about these things, It's bringing awareness to the Jamaican public that at any time you can lose your rights, you can lose your life, you can lose whatever.
And not a
And
damn
now
thing
look
come out
at
of it.
yeah, and just look at the whole scandal with the money. Look at it. People are involved. Why did anyone want to take out the architect? He has obviously knows something that they think he knows, or don't want him to say, or said something unfortunate to somebody, and the person said, no, 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 what have you. Let me tell you something. This river runs deep.
Very deep.
This runs deep, and the people of Jamaica, of good conscience, if there are any left, I wonder, because you have not heard the clergy. You've not heard anybody come out on board and say, no, 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 this cannot be Jamaica. What's going on here? Only because of Bolt why we have heard this mass outpouring. And only because of social media people, you hear this mass out. So are you saying that the people of Jamaica, the lives they don't matter? Huh?
Mm.
And you try to mask it off by going on the road attack, and so that people can, and what have you, and so on. So everything is a red herring. You don't watch the crowd. Watch what is happening behind the crowd, and you'll get the appointments. You think they can't fool nobody. They can fool everybody, but they can't fool me. That's why I shake my head and say, let me ask you a question.
But go ahead.
Did you see this thing with Damian Crawford? A video that he did on some interview. Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Well, I'm going to recommend that you look at it. You know what Damian Crawford said?
Mm.
And he's the opposition. He said he offered the people of his constituency education. And they rioted against him and voted him out because they said they don't want no education. They want money and food. He went again to try to win a seat in Portland. And they tried to give them go to start a small farming. And guess what? They run and call him Bear, the goat man,
Yeah,
because they
I've
don't
seen
want to
that
start
video.
no business.
I,
Right? You have to see it. You see, when I saw that, I sank in my chair and I said, oh my God. So all that we've been fighting for all these years, right? To get the level of the people up, give them education, give the young people, the young ones will tell you they want the education, but the question is, why are we not educating our population? This could never happen anywhere else. And I am telling you that people always say, oh, Jamaica is not that bad. Look at El Salvador, look at this, look at that, look at that. Let me make it quite clear. Anybody who says that hates Jamaica. They do not love Jamaica. And I'm not afraid to say so.
but when you look at it, I mean, I don't want to drift from the situation here. Doctor,
No, I'm not joking.
Mr. Herb, continue speaking because I think I have Wilfred Radigan calling.
Yeah, Doc, I think what you said is well founded. Um, you have to have leadership with the highest aspirations for the country.
Mhm.
And that leadership must be able to state what is their desire for the country. And it's based on a love of country.
Yeah.
A few months back, I said, we have people who are willing and ready and have already sold out Jamaica. They sell out to the highest bidder. Jamaica is like a pie. You have the US carve their piece, the UK carve their piece, the Canadians carve their piece, the Chinese carve their piece. Everybody's carving a piece. But when you carve a piece, you also have police and military and politicians who then swear allegiance to the people that carved them out. Not only that, when
Yes.
you have politicians with weaknesses, meaning that somebody have something on them, then they have no choice. They're in the wind. So whoever has whatever on them, when they spring that information and that politician want to save their backsides, they're going to go ahead and play ball.
Mhm.
And carving out all these pieces, Jamaicans are left with nothing.
But when you look at it, Dr. Francis and Sir Herb Nelson Jr., when you look at it, that means Mr. Clarke may have turned his back to go back in, or how can you shoot a man in his back?
You know,
The military that is sworn to defend the constitution of this land. The military is sworn to defend the rights of the Jamaican people. And you are going to give this man, Rocky Mead, ambassador, who presided over a death squad that killed a Jamaican citizen on Jamaican soil, assassinate him.
No, but he's not the only one. He's not the only one. 73 other people lost their lives. Or more.
I agree. I agree,
73.
Dr. Francis. You're perfectly right. But when you're going to send 100 military personnel to a man's house, or him and his wife and Pitnina, because you got intelligence according to you all that the fugitive is there. You didn't go there and try to figure out something. Obviously, you went there and decided to just bullet the whole place down. And if they can go up into the Vumva Van, the Vumva V of Kirkland Heights and assassinate that man, then what about me who live below Crossroad?
Well, you know, let me say this to you. That as I said before, I don't know why we are not surprised. When you look at it and I look back and I see the actions of some people. I see the action of politicians. I see the action of people who you know and should know better. And I say to myself, you know, what is going on here? Can't people understand that everything that we have worked for in Jamaica, our notoriety in the world, our songs, our tourism is destined right now to be successful behind a wall, all inclusive, right? So the majority of the Jamaican people are not benefiting. Who is doing that? Right now, there are more imports than there are exports. That is designed. And don't blame the IMF and don't blame the World Bank. Blame our leaders.
Indeed.
Okay? So what is happening in the country is a result of failed leadership. And I don't care who I'm vexed. You might consider I don't know what I'm talking about. Let me say this, if they don't see it. Because if you are only stuffing things in your pocket, you are getting richer and richer, right? You can have banks are being plagued by the members in their banks. And you don't say anything for a while until it got so bad when they realize, no, not realize, wait, listen to me. And Usain Bolt thing take off like a jet.
Yes.
Then you start to talk about this and talk about that. Makes no sense. You can't, nobody, how many portfolios do we have of government today that are handled by the ministers themselves? Almost none, except the Prime Minister. So what I'm trying to say to you is this. And when you say so, you want to leave him alone. Leave him what? You're the leader. Okay? I don't know. Let me tell you something. I've known leaders in the government of Jamaica. And there's one leader I'm telling you in particular that I know, and people cuss him out while they don't like him, Philip George Siaga. I am telling you, no matter what anybody wants to say, I would not mind Michael Mandewell, would not matter him, would not matter Siaga, because them one love Jamaica so much that you see what happened, and the other one serve Jamaica with very little love. And I only mention those two. But there are a lot of people who love Jamaica and want to see Jamaica better, but you can't do it sitting down on your hands and keep your eyes closed. Don't make no sense. Not gonna work.
Indeed.
Okay. So that is my thing. And I really I must tell you the truth. I can't even worry say to waste my time to convince anybody of the situation because it's right there in front of you. It's only a blind man that cannot see what is happening in Jamaica today. Okay. And
And
some parts of the world. Only a
yes,
blind one.
Mr.
And
Nelson,
so
Mr. Nelson,
Yes, sir.
yes. Can you tell me what is a USDC SP3? Because it is said that a US Navy DHSP3, well, actually, it's a plane. It was over Tivoli Garden. It was in Jamaica's airspace.
The P-3 Orion aircraft gives close air support to ground forces.
Yes.
And interestingly, several lieutenant colonels from the lieutenant colonels from the JDF stated they could not understand the orders or the directions that the P-3 was sending out.
Mm.
So what does that tell us? That a U.S. force had to be on the ground somewhere that was receiving these orders. As a matter of fact, what the colonel said, they got their instructions from the helicopter because the helicopter belonged to them. And the helicopter
JDF
told
helicopter.
them what was going on and what they had to do from 1 minute to the next. So if the P-3 was giving directions on the ground, they were following combat operations. They were protecting the forces on the ground. They could tell them where snipers were. I mean, they have incredible vision from up there. They can even identify the type of weapons being fired by the aggressors on the ground, who are Dudus's people.
Mm.
Now I
I think I
noted,
think I think I think that they were also active on the ground. It is quite clear that they were active on the ground
yeah,
as well, because why would they be in that place and not be active? It does make sense. Okay.
And, 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 and,
So
and,
obviously
and why did the then and the late Minister of National Security came out and said to the Jamaican people, there was never a US military plane over Tivoli? And in the same breath, the former Prime Minister and former President of the Jamaica Labour Party, Bruce Golding, came and addressed the nation and said, yes, he authorized, as the Minister of Defense, he authorized a US military plane over Tivoli. So what is going on?
yeah.
One saying no, one saying yes.
Worse than that, you had these, I don't know, 18 Degrees North did a expose and spoke to the groundspeople at Maypen Cemetery. And those
Yes.
groundspeople confirmed that they were putting bodies in the graves at Maypen. This is why Mr. Siagat come up with his guesstimate of 155 people dead. But that 73 is not going to hold water. That's what they were taking to the morgue, and that's what they were taking to KPH hospital, right? So those people that they counted were the people that we know about, that we can see, that people could add, and because they saw them. But the folks at the groundspeople at Maypen Cemetery were put in those graves, maybe 3, 4, and 5 bodies in a grave, one of these 6-foot graves. I mean, nobody's counting that. And they clearly said when the forces were moving in, they saw piles of bodies in Maypen.
When the JDF was moving in.
Yeah.
So hold on there. So if it's not the JDF did all of that, now the JCF, then who did it?
Well, your guess is as good as mine because I give you my best guesstimate that
I
with
I
three
I'm
with three warships and the P3 Orion, they had to be supporting U.S. ground forces.
yeah, because they're just, I think that's what they use them as. They went in first, did the damage, and then the police came. The police, whoever there was not brave enough to go in there. These guys went. We don't know if there are any casualties, of
They
course.
went because they had eyes above that told them
Mm,
where these folks were,
mm,
directed the where they needed to shoot.
mhm.
All of this stuff was being done. You know, you got these 50 cals that these guys use and go through brick walls and strike the target, and you get direction from the P3, so you know where to shoot. It was a totally unfair advantage. So when they cleared
Yeah,
the way, where they get these people out of the way, and then the military moved in.
Hold on for me, Sir Herb. Dr. Francis, I gotta mute your mic because there's a feedback coming in when Mr. Herb speak.
that's right.
Yeah. So you this was not any kind of warfare that those guys on the ground understood, right? This was advanced equipment brought in with advanced technological battlefield fire and cover, and they couldn't take cover because they didn't know where the fire was going to come from. If you can see through smog and smoke and behind walls, and you silhouette the target and you give the grid coordinates, you just fire, and you have dead people falling over. So they took out all those snipers that was a threat to a battle force, and so the main battle force from JDF could then move in, just
But
drive down the street.
what I want to find out though, what do you call it, Maltas or Malta?
Yeah.
Were they from the Jamaica Defense Force, or were they from
No,
foreign?
they're JDF mortars. They
They
got the
are.
JDF major who fired them. He had the fire team, right? You have what is called a maximum effective range, which Doc knows, and you have a maximum range. The maximum effective range might be 300 meters, but that means everything within 300 meters will die. The maximum range might be 1,000 meters. That means you're going to get maimed, possibly killed, depends on what hits you or how it
So,
hits you.
so let me ask him before I go to Dr. Rupert Francis. Let me ask a question here, Mr. Nelson. Is it legal for the JDF to use those things in Jamaican soil?
It's not legal to use it on Jamaican soil. Certain rules on the Geneva Convention when you're dealing with civilians. As a matter of fact, many of them unarmed civilians. Because we went through this in the US military where you had terrorists or terrorist fighters hiding amongst the civilian population. And you couldn't just blast away and kill everybody. Right? That was against Geneva Convention rules.
So that means the government of Jamaica and the military should be charged for crime against humanity then.
You know, the bottom line here is you should have had an outside team, whether it's from the UK or from Canada, come in Or you could have asked the Swiss, who are neutral, to come in and do an investigation. But instead, you go through a Tivoli Gardens hearing, which was a joke, because I was down in Jamaica for that. You know, you made fun, you ridiculed the same people that you just killed their kids. You had them up there sitting, talking to the commission, and the commission was speaking at a fog index factor above their heads. And when those people were speaking plain old patois, or trying to get the points across, they were ridiculed. And you have prominent attorneys that are still serving that did that ridicule of those people. Those people had very little representation in this matter. They should have had international NGOs come in with their attorneys, investigate, and help them to file those claims. They had one attorney, and she was there trying to swat down all these arguments by the government attorneys. And then they switched her out to another person, and he was stymied in the same fashion. So the bottom line here is the government has the power. And when they formed that Tivoli Gardens hearing, I said, you don't need a Tivoli Gardens hearing. You need a Truth Commission.
A Truth and
Reconciliation Commission. Yeah. And they should have gone all the way back to the 70s and unearthed all the stuff done against Jamaica by Jamaicans in conjunction with outside foreign direct interventionists.
You know,
because that's treason.
It is.
There's a lot of treason that occurred, believe it or not.
And you know something, Mr. Nelson? I keep on saying this, you know. I want to come to to Dr. Herbert Francis next. But I keep on saying this. It is okay, it is good for the king to apologize for slavery. But some things has been done to the Jamaican people by the two political parties in this country. Some atrocity has been done to the people of this country. And you don't hear an apology from none of them. The burning down of the Eventide's home, the Coral Gardens killing, the two massacres that happened in Tivoli Garden. And we can go on and on and on and on and on. And every 5 years, we have been swapping black dog for monkey in this country. Do anybody, maybe me daft, I don't know. But I don't see wherein majority of these political leaders in this country has Jamaica's interest at heart. Look at the level of corruption under this administration. Look at the level of corruption in this administration. And it's as if business as usual. I heard the Minister of Misinformation since night talking utter nonsense on a radio station when I asked him questions about the director of corruption, whatever they want to call it, to prosecute the Prime Minister. He's talking bloody nonsense. And we sit down in this country and allow these things to go on. The assassination of Jamaican citizens and Jamaican soil by the powers may be who claim that they love poor people in this country. How long are we going to sit down and accept this? Our little brothers and black brothers and sisters are murdered every day by the hands of gunmen and murdered every day by the people of the Vumvavan, the Vumvavi. Keith Clarke dead. Other people dead in the Tivoli, and not a damn thing came out of it. More than somebody go sit down and collecting how much $1 million a year of a poor people for pension. Dr. Francis, do you think that the time has come for this country, this piece of rock we call Jamaica, to call for a Truth and Conciliation Commission?
We have asked for it before, and we didn't get it. Why do you think we'll get it now? There's so much truth to be told and so much reconciliation. I think we'll be going backwards. I'm not being facetious. I'm just simply saying that I think we have to get serious. And if you think through what could happen in Jamaica if this matter is not resolved, is that you're going to forever have the haves and the have-nots, above crossroads and below crossroads. And whether you like it or not, that's what's happening. And it doesn't mean crossroads are metaphorical, because it's everywhere.
I have to step away for a second, guys.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The young people are fed up. Young people have literally taken up arms because they have good examples, and they've taken up thuggery, thievery, and various aspects of criminal behavior, because they see people getting away literally with murder and stealing people's lives, incomes, and what have you. And you know, people are not saying anything. Are they afraid? Yeah, maybe. Are there some complices? Obviously. And they don't think that there's anything wrong with what they're doing. So my argument is this: that if you don't think that there is anything wrong with what you are doing, then something's wrong. Can't we see it? I'm asking for the reasonable people of Jamaica. Can't you see what is happening? I mean, I saw some things happening. I mean, I take the small things and judge the big things, you know. Where the man took an iron at a university student and burned her from head to toe with an iron. And she's on the whatever, TikTok, whatever, showing it up and so on. As if, I mean, you know, can you imagine that? And it's like normal, and nobody's, people around us say, oh my God, this and so on. But who's taking people like that to boot?
You know, Dr. Francis, the level of mental health cases in our country is unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Well, I don't think it's the mad people doing this, you know.
Huh?
I don't think it's the mad people doing this. Is the sane ones doing it?
No, but what I'm saying to you, the level of mental health cases in our country, not people walking on the street.
Okay.
You have some people who sit in the House of Parliament, they're mentally sick. They're mad. But we don't know. We have some people sitting in the upper lands of society, the Vumva and the Vumva in the same Cherry Garden, Narbrook and Kirkland Heights. They're losing it. They are losing it. Not to mention our people who live below Crossroad. Some of us are losing it because of what? We do not know where. Some of us don't know where the next meal is coming from. And you're being told this evening in a special item of news that the Prime Minister is involved in a multi-billion or multi-million-dollar fraud. Not fraud, corruption thing. You have the SSL saga, where Jamaica name gone abroad pertaining to SSL. And now the leader of the country is being referred to. Because of corruption. Is this the Jamaica they're talking about for the 2030 vision? Where you assassinate some Jamaican citizens in 2010 on Jamaican soil, and nothing comes out of it. Corruption stink to the highest heaven. I'm not talking about the 23rd division to live and walk where. Huh?
Well, my brother, I don't have very long with you this evening on this thing because
yes, I thank you for coming on, sir. Thank you for coming on. Your final word. We're gonna wrap up in the time soon.
Let me just say it quickly, Doc. I have an emergency here, so I need to go take care of it.
Yes,
but
sir.
I've said what I think needed to be said, and we really need to start holding people accountable. They got the Prime Minister on track. We need to talk about Rocky Mead. He needs to answer for these 3 soldiers, and he needs to say what happened in plain English to the Jamaican people. Talk to you later.
Thank you very much,
All right,
Herb Nelson Jr.
All right.
You know, I want to say this. I want to thank you for trying to open the eyes of the Jamaican people. I want to thank you for always bringing these things to light. I'm not surprised to see things happening, but what I would advise, especially the ex-military people, not to lose what integrity they have left by keeping their eyes closed and their mouths shut. And try not to become part of the equation.
Mr. Rattigan, can you turn off your music here in the background?
Oh, well on it.
Go ahead, Sir Francis, sorry.
Yeah, I really think that people ought to become aware that they have a responsibility when they reach certain levels of society to be the leaders that they are, and I know that they are, and to tell themselves the truth and to tell the people the truth and make people understand what is at stake. What is happening with Bolt, what is happening in the society is merely, what should I say? I don't know the word for you. It's just not, it's just the cattle. The load is but to come. There's a statement that says, this is but the cattle. The load is but to come. And if we are not careful and we are not willing to do anything about it, Jamaica will not be the place that we know it should be, and it is. I see Brother Rattigan. It's good to see you, my friend. You have a mustache now since I last saw you, which is very interesting.
Yeah, so work, you know, so work. So work.
I must say, welcome to Wilfred Rattigan, former FBI agent, attorney at law, talk show host of Reason with Rattigan and Reggae Global Radio. We're going to speak about I know my distinguished guest, Dr. Rupert Francis, has to leave. So I want to tell you thanks for coming on, sir. Unless you want to say with us because Wilfred is on.
Well, you know, you're trying to make it difficult for me and my brother. I'll stay with him for a little while, but as I said, you know, I'm in a little quagmire. It's only because of you and my dear friends that I decided to, and the Jamaican people, why I decided to come on. Okay? But I tell you, keep on watching. Go ahead, Mr. Rattigan.
Because a plane landed in Rocky Point, and I know they can't find to signal the plane.
The
plane landed Rocky Point from what we kill Philip. How much fucking come out of the plane, and I know they can't signal the plane from Rocky Point.
I'm not surprised. Anyway, I'm sure.
In this country?
I am not surprised. Mr. Rattigan, I'm sure will bring us up to speed more as to what is going on. So, hold on, Mr. Rattigan. When them sing friends here around the Rattigan, you're back in your backyard. You know the whole place?
No, this, right? That's what you say. This. Hold on.
We can see it, man.
Yeah, I'm a host. I'm a host, man. I want to host that.
That's what I'm trying to say. Mr. Water, man. I mean, yeah, it's nothing wrong with that.
No, we don't forget our roots, man. And when we come in the studio, like me in the studio now, when I look on this give me energy, it give me inspiration, it give me drive, it give me verve, you know, because it keep me focused on me and is a constant reminder of why me I do what me I do because of this.
I must say good night to our good friend out of South Africa, Ambassador Ander Mashaila, who is watching us. He's the ambassador for Interpol in South Africa. Good night or good morning to you, sir.
Where's Andy?
He's in South Africa watching us now.
Andy, my brother. Blessings.
Mr. Rattigan, based on the information that we got over the news this evening, that the Prime Minister was referred to, the Director of Corruption, Prosecution, something like that, yes? For some dealings that he had in a multi-million-dollar fraud thing, in the sense of he awarding people contract when he was Minister of Education. Your views and all of that, Mr. Rattigan?
It's kind of early because I have to go back and look at the website and take a look at the report. I think it's a 107-page report. I have to go back and look it over carefully. But be that as it may, it's a referral, and the referral it strikes me as being a little bit more than a complaint. It strikes me as being a full-blown investigation with the results referred to a prosecuting body, even though I think they referred to the prosecuting or the prosecutorial arm of Integrity Commission, because Integrity Commission can bring their own cases.
Yes.
So the fact that they did this is not something that was done lightly. For them come this far and make that statement, what that tells me is that they have the goods on him.
But and we must say thanks to independent journalists from 18 Degrees North. That beautiful lady there, Zara Burton, who investigate this properly. And that is why it come out this evening that the Prime Minister of Jamaica awarded contract to a company that he is a part owner of, and I consider a part owner of it.
Yeah, it's not a good look, and it just shows the depth to which we have descended, you know, in terms of integrity, honesty, fairness, justice, transparency. We've fallen from the mountaintop way down into the valley, because when you have the leader of the country being referred to for prosecution, I mean, I still have my doubts about Integrity Commission and how they go about doing business, but this one here, it's kind of hard to ignore this one. I think this one was properly done, but I'm going to read the report. In fact, several people have come from Jamaica and asked me if I've read the report, and I told them no, but I definitely will read it before the end of the week, and I will have something to say on that.
Yes, I have to go over it too, because I didn't get the chance to look at all. Just listen to the news this evening. But gentlemen, where is this country going, Mr. Rattigan? Based on the whole, and I know you don't know nothing about the whole 2010 incursion in Tivoli with the assassination of Keith Clarke. But based on what is going on in Jamaica right now, where do you see this country going?
I mean, Ray Charles, if he were alive, he would have seen it. Stevie Wonder can't. Ray Charles, yeah, but Stevie Wonder can't see that one, yeah. I mean, this one, yeah, you really not have on. You have to properly focus on the glasses to see where this is going. It's going in the wrong direction at a rapid rate. It's almost like on a weekly basis now we get a scandal, you know, almost on a weekly basis. And it just, I don't know if it's coincidence or is the Almighty shedding light on this to highlight how bad the situation is. But it just seems like every week there's a scandal, and every week the scandal of the week has some tentacles going to the Prime Minister. And that is bad. It's bad enough that the government is acting in a scandalous fashion. But what's worse is when you have the leader of the government being implicated in it. I know he's not going to sleep well tonight. I saw the statement put out by the opposition party, and one of the things that struck me was that they said, "Look, this doesn't look good overseas." You know, the fact that you have a prime minister who's now allegedly involved in corruption, and he's violated several Jamaican laws, not to mention the possibility that he may have violated, laws from international partners. But this is not a sad day. This is a very sad day for Jamaican leadership in government. Very sad day. Because if him can't do that, and granted he didn't do it when he was prime minister, but he did it when he was in a ministerial position. And if him can't do that, no, we'll tell a little policeman on the street, we'll tell this other person or that person who involved in a crime, we'll tell them. What you going to tell them? He's not the messenger. He cannot talk to people about corruption. As of today, he cannot talk to people about corruption. How is he going to talk to people about corruption? How?
And not only that, Mr. Rattigan, when you look at it, he is saying that, the full force of the law will be coming down on all those who are scamming. But the biggest scammers are in the House of Parliament. Some of them.
This is not a good look. It's sad, but it's something that had to come out. It had to come out, and here it is now, right in front of our eyes. So all of the people who used to say that, people like you, me, and others who are very critical of some of the things the government is doing. Now, I wonder what those same people, I wonder what they're saying.
Indeed.
Then what they're saying, I mean, what can you say?
And not only that, look at it, Mr. Rattigan. The organization is referring this also to the Speaker of the House. How can you refer this to the Speaker of the House when the Speaker of the House also is involved in corruption with people land? The Speaker of the House of Representatives in Jamaica, in our country, in the People's Parliament,
look,
is involved in corruption with people land.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Rattigan.
Well,
so how is it that they're referring the case? How is it they're referring the case to the Speaker of the House, who is alleged that she has a company, a law firm, with some Jeffrey, behave yourself tonight, because the National Land Agency want to take away one woman 400-acre land in a Trelawney. The National Land Agency giving us some fraud title. You know where the corruption leading to? The House of Parliament corrupt. Jamaica House corrupt. The King's House where the GG living in corrupt. Come all the way down. Go ahead, Mr. Rattigan.
No, when you talk about integrity and fairness, honesty, justice, the Prime Minister has demonstrated time and time again that he's not worthy of being in that office. Time and time again. And I'll give you an example. The example I'll give you is the fact that he has subscribed to Vision 2030, saying that Jamaica should be a place to do business, build a family, invest, live, and so on and so forth. And when you focus on the investment and the working and doing business, he's basically telling people, come to Jamaica, invest in Jamaica. Those of you who are here already, invest in Jamaica, start your business here, pay your taxes here, because we want to make this place into a first world nation by 2030. And then what the Prime Minister does do? The Prime Minister, I don't know if he was Prime Minister at the time, but what I'm doing, skirt the law, end up in a St. Lucia, form a company, and put his two young sons. I think they were both under the age of 15 at the time. I think so. Put both of them on the
13, 12 or something like that.
Right. Put them on the board of directors. So the question I have to ask him is this: could we take a look at the minutes of the board meetings? Because I'd like to see what his two sons contributed to any discussion that the board had. That is what I would like to know. I would like to know that. Yeah, because you don't put children on your board of directors unless you intend to do something nefarious. You don't put children on your board. You put somebody respectable, somebody wise, somebody who is competent, like Dr. Francis and you, Mr. Host, Jeffrey Tavares. That's what you do. You don't put a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, whatever it is. They were both under 15. You don't put them on the board. And if you do, or if you did, then more the minutes. More say what exactly, what exactly them contributed to the conversation.
But
so.
But Mr. Rattigan, we must ask this question also. He did all of that when he was opposition spokesperson or Minister of Education at the time. Then imagine what he's doing as Prime Minister.
Sure. It's deplorable, and I've said it before. I think it's time now for him. I think the Jamaican people have had enough of him right now. I think, them say if it not goes so, it nearly goes so. And it's like there's so many stories about him, so many stories. You have the story with the investments. You have the story with the St. Lucia. You have the story with money being transferred. You have the story with the
grandfather money from Mexico coming down.
Yeah, you have the story with with SSL.
Yes.
You have the story with no this. And this is probably the worst one, because this one, the others, people have the evidence and people just talk about it, but nothing was done by the authorities. Now, here's one that people never even really know about. People never really, in general, people never have now watched this.
But the question must be asked, and Dr. Francis can weigh in too. Are they going to really investigate this? Or are you going to sweep under the carpet? Dr. Francis and Wilfred Rattigan?
I think that they have to, with all clarity, with all decency, they have to do something, right? And already there's a lot of uproar in the streets as to what is happening and what is expected of the current government. And I really hope that they'll put them, to task and say, look, it's about time we need to get some answers. It's no longer business as usual. And so I'm saying to you that I'm hoping that good sense will prevail and we'll be able to get people to start to have a more intricate look on the leaders and would-be leaders of our country. Otherwise, we're going to be in serious trouble.
We're already in serious trouble?
We're in serious trouble already, man.
Yeah.
The plane can't signal anymore.
We always say, we always look at other countries and say, look, other countries, oh, it's happening over there, it's happening over here, it's happening over there, and we ignore it, to our peril, and we can't do it anymore. Yeah, Can't do it
Oh
anymore.
my God! No, listen, you haven't laughed sometimes, because when they see what is going on in your country, plane land in Jamaica to rotted up by Rocky Point, and all the Minister of National Security and Justice, Twiddly Dum Dum, could say all the people are already gone. And the dumbest of all, the Commissioner of Police, who want Bex tonight, I don't care. They must go sit down. The Prime Minister, the Minister of National Security and Justice, and the Commissioner of Police must resign, along with the Minister of Misinformation, Robert Nesta Morgan. Figure sit down. Because all him do is give the country misinformation. And what is going on now? The Prime Minister must do the honorable thing and take himself away until the investigation is finished.
I wonder which Jamaica you're talking about.
The land of wool and water, me born and growing up. I come there by labor plane, not by aeroplane, not party plane. No signal of plane not going in there.
Yeah, my friend. You guys have me laugh anyway. Good to yourself.
Definitely a signal.
Tired, you make me tired.
No, why you not tired, man? You have a signal. Why you talk about you tired?
Dr. Francis, I know you're not well, I know you're not well because he's not doing well, Sir Rattigan.
Yeah, I talked to Rupi last night. What going on? You all right, man?
All right, man. All right.
All right, man.
Good like
He's getting prepared to signal the plane.
I'm getting all right. I'm good. I'm taking it easy. That's all. Just trying to take it easy. I didn't know that I'd be on here this evening, but I appreciate it. And good to see the Zinc friends behind Brother Ratty.
So, the funny thing is, some people made comments about it, and it's almost like they were saying, in other words, that it's unbecoming. And I understand.
Unbecoming of what?
Yeah, look, I understand. I guess they want to see some shiny buildings behind me and things like that. I understand where they're coming from, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from. That's right there.
Yes.
That's right there.
Not like the Prime Minister who tells some lie this minute. And the next minute another lie. Saying grandmother and grandfather raised him. And the next minute he saying mother and father. In a 2-bedroom house in a West Cumberland in a Spanish Town. Huh? At least you tell people, say, look here, I come from Waterhouse, it's on nasty, dirty, rusty Vincent, when I call it. and we can't signal the plane for land on this or two.
I think Brother Rattigan picked the worst part of round of the take. I don't know. I'm messing with him anyway. No, but I remember exactly walking in that era when I was in the military a long time ago. So and I'm proud. I'm just as proud of it as you are, my friend.
Yeah, man.
Somebody in the chat room. I can put it up.
What's that?
The other person said, I love it bad.
Absolutely, yes. Yes. Anyway, brothers.
Your final word before you go, Dr. Francis, because
hopefully it's not my final word, but my word before I go, is that I'm very happy to be here to share with you. I think it's important that we keep the conversation going. I think it is important for people to understand that we are not going to stop talking about the things that we know to be true, and we want answers. And we are hoping that men and women of goodwill of Jamaica will stop hiding behind the applause being whatever you want to hide behind, and start to work with their country as they should. That's how I see it. Okay, so thank you very much for the opportunity, brother. And brother Martin, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks, but you take it easy and let's keep on giving them hell. Let them understand that we deserve better. We have worked hard, we have worked long, we've been a lot of places, and we have the help. We can help our country, and we are not going to stop in spite of their efforts. Okay, and those military officers that are out there who have served and who have been trained, just as how you've been trained in the FBI and what have you, in the military and what have you, they should really, really start to step up and not allow people to twist their minds and what have you, because it's going to come back to bite them in the ass, you know. And it's not by accident that what they call it, something was called Rocky, by Rocky, whatever it is, what Rocky Mead. So please, Mr. Mead, don't be name and nature. Let's move on. And General Anderson, step up. You have been trained. All
Step
the best.
aside.
Well,
Can't
whatever.
signal the plane
Step
no
aside.
more. It's time for General Anthony Anderson to step aside and go signal the plane somewhere else. He can't signal the plane anymore. He might twiddly dum-dum.
All right, my friend.
And Rocky Mead must tell the people of Jamaica who send the JDF about Kirkland Heights at KEITH Clarke House before he become ambassador for where? Ambassador, you listen to me. Is Jamaica the only country put ambassador in their own country?
Then you know what happened? They're making a plenipotentiary ambassador, which means that he have independence to do anything he wants, sign contracts on behalf of the government of Jamaica. That's what the term means.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
Yeah. And the job we get no bigger than the job where them do them that game, you know.
Yes, bigger than the Prime Minister job.
Yeah, bigger than the Prime Minister job.
So that means that he can sign contract with the Colombians, military,
anything.
And come and overthrow the government then.
Anything.
Anything.
And think about that. The man is not even an elected official, you know. Nobody know elect him, you know.
We're in our constitution.
Man, just appoint him. You know. Anyway.
And the GG who want to go around and nyam. That's all them is go around and nyam and chat pay damn nonsense in the House of Parliament. Can I say to the Prime Minister, no, I'm not going to sign off on this. He's a lucky boy for Andrew Holness.
It's a shame. Absolute horrendous.
We have to talk to King Charles. We have to have a serious discussion with King Charles. Man.
I agree with you. My friend.
Dr. Francis, maybe you can signal the plane to Buckingham Palace and we can talk to him.
You know what is ironic though, if they know that we were he went to the same college as we did. Anyway, I gotta run now, guys. Okay, all right. Thank you very much for coming on. Yeah, man.
Okay,
anytime.
Sir. Thank you very much for coming on. All right.
Okay,
we're going to signal the plane somewhere else now. Wilfred Randigan, why aren't you laughing?
I laugh because you are laughing. I'm not see you laughing a long time.
Oh my God. You gotta find something to laugh over because honestly, if you take up the stress of Jamaica on your head, you have heart problem and high blood pressure. How on earth can you give this man ambassador for what? In a way, in Jamaica. So Jamaica appointed ambassador within Jamaica. As what our good friend, let us find when he said our good friend Ambassador Curtis Ward. When I sent it to him, his reply to me was this: Jamaica is the only country appointing ambassador to itself. I guess Jamaica House is in a different country.
Well, to act like it's in a different country, so.
Boy, anyway.
Well, no, we have to forget a job like that.
They won't give you and I, you know. They won't give the rebel, the defender, Wayne Lonesome a job like this, you know. They'll give the people within the mainstream of Jamaica. You know, Jeffrey, behave yourself tonight.
No, but I love a job like this because I think I'd be good at it, you know. I think I'd be very good at it.
So, but the question must be asked also: Is he going to be getting 2 Prados or 2 Range Rover with security details and a posh house in the affluence of Upper St. Andrew too?
I think them says 18 million they might get to.
$18 million.
Yeah, I think so. Look at them rip off the 18 to 20 million. And look at them rip off the little poor people, man. Look on the rip.
Huh? My
Look
God.
rape.
They wouldn't even write off the poor pauperizing bus and taxi operators' tickets. And the budget is $1 trillion, Mr. Rattigan.
Yeah, man. I'm going good.
Yeah, man.
I'll
What
buy a
teeth
plane.
next?
I'll buy a plane now.
And get somebody for signal it.
You know, easy, you know.
by viewers, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. For this long one is the first I laugh till I want that. Oh my God, no.
That's not years. No, that's not. No, I mean, I laugh off a man, so I'm not saying nothing. I'm not saying nothing more.
The viewers might be saying, what on earth is going on with Jeffrey and Rattigan tonight?
I'm not saying nothing more,
Oh,
man.
Jesus. Good night to Ambassador Curtis Ward, Jamaica's ambassador to the United Nations in 2019. The Minister of Misinformation never know that. All he want to signal the plane for Andrew Holness. Signal the plane. Well, Mr. Rattigan, your final word before we go, because, you know, if I continue tonight, I'm going to continue talking about signal the plane.
People remember that program of it. People remember that program of it, how much you're laughing on the top what people are saying.
Oh my God, no.
That's a big one, man. Yeah.
Your final word before
my final word is just
not to signal the plane, no.
So
Not to signal the plane. Oh my God. Oh.
Hey, some people can't signal plane. Some people nothing signal plane.
Oh God.
But final words is that you know, this is a continuation of the waywardness of the leadership of our beloved country. It doesn't bode well. It sets no example. It's not a fact of inspiration. And in fact, it suggests failure from the uppermost level of our government. And therefore, we shouldn't expect any better in society, because the leadership sets the tone. And when you set a tone of misdeeds, I won't even say corruption and anything like that, but just misdeeds, and there is a pattern and a practice of misdeeds, then it displays to the nation that there is no confidence in our leaders. That's what it displays to me, that we shouldn't have any confidence in our leaders, because if they're supposed to set the example and they're breaking the rules, then that's a recipe for chaos and confusion and ultimately disaster. I'm not trying to set no goat mouth on my beloved country, but the way things are going now, I wouldn't be surprised if things get worse and people start, an uprising. I would not be surprised, because the question is, how much more of this can we take? How much more? And I dare say, not much more. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, my good friend Wilfred Radigan, Herb Nelson Jr., and Dr. Rupert Francis. You know, you see me here laughing for this long while. The first I got such a good laugh. But you know, our nation is in crisis. And when I keep on saying to people that Jamaica is knocking behind Haiti's back door, a lot of people say to me, Jeffrey, you need to stop it. But the rate our country is going, do you believe it is what you all think that helped mash up Haiti now? It's the political tribalism, the word I want to use, I can't use it, in the sense of them thieving from the public coffers. Them thieving from the public coffers that helped mash up Haiti. And that's what is going on in Jamaica. Scandal after scandal. How, as what Mr. Rattigan said, how much more we as a people can take? How much more can we take as a people? How much more? People are living from hand to mouth. How much more? And you have a government who don't care? No wonder the little... I don't condole with scamming. I don't condole with certain things. I don't. It seems that my air conditioning stop working. I don't. but based on what is going on, you try to ask yourself the question every day. Police don't have vehicles that will travel in taxi. Yet money's in the country. Yet they're talking about they have a $1 trillion budget. KPH doesn't have any proper bed. Poor people, money's been blundered left, right, and center. Corruption stink to the highest heaven. My fellow Jamaicans, the time to rally around a single cause and a single purpose is now. Rally for Jamaica. Because if we don't do it, are we going to leave a Jamaica for our children? What Jamaica are we going to leave for our children? A corrupt, infected country with crime and corruption? A prime minister who believes that he's a dictator? Who doesn't want to listen to anybody? How much more can we take as a people? How much more? Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining me. And until you hear my voice again, where I come on and speak about something of national importance, and I'm still saying this tonight, Colonel Rocky Mead, now your Ambassador Rocky Mead, tell the people of Jamaica what happened in 2010 at Keith Clark home. Before you take up the ambassadorship, do the honorable thing, sir, and tell the people of this country what happened in 2010. How did the Jamaica Defense Force assassinate a Jamaican on Jamaican soil? Because as far as I'm concerned, the entire Valley Garden encouragement was assassination of Jamaicans on Jamaican soil. But you went inside Keith Clark home. A battalion of 100 Jamaica Defense Force soldiers went inside there and assassinate the man. And that damn thing comes out of it. We're not talking about justice for all. A loss for all. You mean loss for the opulence of society and the poor class of Jamaicans? We're still demanding justice for Donnelly Donaldson. When you put off the case again, hello, JCF, when you now go cook up this case, you know. JCF, do not cook up the case with Donnelly Donaldson. For far too long, this nonsense goes on in this country, where young girls are being raped and murdered and get away with it. Some of them rape and murder from the 1970s, and they send the person go foreign. And they sit in the effluent of society in this country. So I say to you tonight, my fellow Jamaicans, continue praying for this rock. But let us continue fighting for the home that we love, Jamaica land. Mr. Rattigan, thank you very much for coming on, sir.
No problem, my brother. Anytime. I'm going to go signal some planes now.
Oh, yes, we have to signal. For all those who cares have been our concern. The work goes on, the cause endure, the hope still lives, and the dream for a better Jamaica shall never die. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. God bless you. May God bless Jamaica land we love. We're going to signal the plane.
All right, Bridget.